there I am. Oh, what color bonnet? What's this? This is, well, it's pinky purple. Oh, this is one of the new ones. Okay, this is huge. Look at that. So this is a bonnet. This is a social distancing bonnet. This is a bonnet, I guess for really sunny days, or maybe when it's snowing or raining, or perhaps this was the 1800s. There was, a Spanish flu or something. This was the fever and ague. Social distancing bonnet. Good Lord, that thing's huge, right? I don't know. This is very weird. Okay, ta-da! I'm gonna call it. I'll just put it like that. It's a very big bonnet. It's like disappearing in this bonnet. Hi, it's me. I'm Alison Arngrim. I'm in my living room still. Glad I have the nice fancy little light today because it's gotten all cloudy and it's gonna rain again. It's gotten weird, and then it's gonna be sunny this weekend, and then it's gonna be all murky and rainy again on Monday. I don't know what's happening. Oh wait, it's spring. Because that's what it does in the spring. It's nice, and then it rains. April showers. April showers. April showers bring May flowers. Or when I was a child, they would say, April showers bring May flowers. May flowers bring the pilgrims. Because yes, that was considered a joke when I was young. It was a very, very long time ago. Nice bonnet, a big bonnet. It's flower. So I'm still waiting for like my next crate of bonnets to show up. But we still have third book in the series, Little House in the Prairie. I have ginger ale today. That's a good sound. That's like in the commercials. Glub, 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 glub. There we go. Alrighty, so this will be fun. I think nothing too terrible happens in this part of the book. I do. Whose birthday? Happy birthday. Wait, let's just say what's there and then it like went by. Happy birthday. If it's your birthday this week, happy birthday. This is the one with cowboys. We finally get cowboys. I'm so excited. How many bonnets do I own? I personally own like 4. And then occasionally when I get a shipment, I see one like I really like that green one. Ooh, the green one. So, because I have like a pink and a green and a beige and I have a leopard print. I'm totally wearing it tomorrow. So I own like 4, but then I get shipment and I'll keep a couple that I like and sort of rotate them out. Stuff is going on. So I'm doing this and I'm talking to the rest of the cast and we're all plotting many things that be coming your way. It's going to be cool because we're all looking for fun stuff to do. Reading this, Cameo. Cameo is the thing you can go and people, do greetings and stuff. I'm on there. So May 9th, it is almost a bonus. May 9th, I was going to do my show in New York. So ta-da! It'll be live online. It's all gonna be live, like I things stage it. Now I'll put the link up, and it's awesome. You can for a ticket. There's far less than you'd have to pay to come see me in person. You'll see me in your living room. All right, so Texas Longhorns appear in Little House in the Prairie. I'm excited. So one evening, Laura and Pa were sitting on the doorstep. The moon shone over the dark prairie, the winds were still, and softly Pa played his fiddle. He let a last note quiver far, far away until it dissolved in the moonlight. Everything was so beautiful that Laura wanted it to stay so forever. But Pa said it was time for little girls to go to bed. Then Laura heard a strange, low, distant sound. "What's that?" she said. Okay, it's kind of every night Laura hears a strange, low, distant sound. And it's wolves, it's coyotes, it's Indians, it's somebody blowing up in a well. It's things keep happening to these poor people. Boy, that's good. Another sound. She hears a sound. Pa listened. "Cattle, by George," he said. "Must be the cattle herds going north to Fort Dodge." "Wait, what? There's cattle herds?" I mean, they're in Kansas, so yeah, I guess. We've seen the cowboy. They herded the cattle and they went across Kansas, and that's the right smack in the middle of Kansas. So there it is. Cowboys. After she was undressed, Laura stood in her nightgown at the window. The air was very still. Not a I can say this. Not a grass blade rustled. Blade and rustled. There it is. And far away and faint, she could hear that sound. It was almost a rumble, and almost a song. Cattle. Is that singing, Pa? She asked. Yes, Pa said. The cowboys are singing the cattle to sleep. Now hop into bed, you little scalawag. Oh, Ma called him, Charles, a scalawag in the last chapter. So ha ha ha, he just called her a scalawag. Cowboys, there's cowboys, singing cowboys. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Laura thought of the cattle lying on the dark ground in the moonlight and the cowboys softly singing lullabies. The next morning, when she ran out of the house, 2 strange men were sitting on horses by the stable. Strange men. There's always strange people there. Wait, these are what, like the 11th and 12th human beings she's ever met in her life. They were talking to Pa. They were as red-brown as Indians, but their eyes were narrow slits between squinting eyelids. They were like Clint Eastwood cowboys. They were squinty cowboys in the sun with the sunburned skin. The cowboys were they were those kind of cowboys, okay? They wore flaps of leather over their legs and spurs and wide-brimmed hats. They had chaps. They had leather chaps. Flaps of leather over their legs and spurs and wide-brimmed hats. Handkerchiefs were knotted around their necks and pistols were on their hips. Cowboys. They said, "So long," to Pa, and "Hi, yip," to their horses, and they galloped away. Excuse me. "Hey, yip!" That's cowboys. "Here's a piece of luck," Pa said to Ma. Those men were cowboys. They wanted Pa to help them keep the cattle out of the ravines among the bluffs of the creek bottoms. Yeah. Pa would not charge them any money, but he told them he would take a piece of beef. "How would you like a good piece of beef?" Pa asked. "Oh, Charles," said Ma, and her eyes shone. Because they've been eating rabbits and prairie hens. They eat little deer, they get a little venison, but it's been rabbit, prairie chicken, rabbit. So, like, steak! He's just announced that they're going to have steak. Pa tied his biggest handkerchief around his neck. He showed Laura how he could pull it up over his mouth and nose to keep the dust out. Oh, that sounds familiar. Pa has a bandana. Pa is wearing a face mask now. I knew this was going to happen. At some point in the book, somebody was going to tie a bandana over their face and protect themselves. These things are going to happen. Oh, my. Then he rode Paddy west along the Indian Trail till Laura and Mary couldn't see him anymore. All day the hot sun blazed and the hot winds blew, and the sound of the cattle herds came nearer. It was a faint, mournful sound of cattle lowing. Moo, moo. At noon, dust was blowing along the horizon. Ma said that so many cattle trampled the grasses flat and stirred up dust from the prairie. Pa came riding home at sunset, covered with dust. There was dust in his beard and in his hair and on the rims of his eyelids, and dust fell off his clothes. Ooh. He did not bring any beef, because the cattle were not across the creek yet. The cattle went very slowly, eating grass as they went. They had to eat enough grass to be fat when they came to the cities where people ate them. Again, sorry vegans, this is just the meat eaters book of the universe. They've been eating bunnies and now it's time for moo, gow, gow, gow. Where people ate them. Moo. Pa did not talk much that night and he didn't play the fiddle. He went to bed soon after supper. It was tiring, I suppose. The herds were so near now that Laura could hear them plainly. The mournful lowing sounded over the prairie till night was dark. Moo, moo. Then the cattle were quieter, and the cowboys began to sing. Their songs were not like lullabies. They were high, lonely, wailing songs, almost like the howling of wolves. Laura lay awake, listening to the lonely songs wandering in the night. Farther away, real wolves howled. Arroo! Sometimes the cattle lowed. Moo! But the cowboy songs went on, rising and falling and wailing away under the moon. When everyone else was asleep, Laura stole softly to the window, and she saw 3 fires gleaming like red eyes from the dark edge of the land. Overhead, the sky was big and still and full of moonlight. The lonely song seemed to be crying for the moon. They made Laura's throat ache. The cowboys, they sang those lonely cowboy songs, those like, oh, yeah, yeah, those singing cowboy songs with their sort of keening. It's sad cowboy songs. All next day, Laura and Mary watched the west. They could hear the faraway bawling of the cattle. Meh. They could see the dust blowing. Sometimes they thinly heard a shrill yell. Yippee-yi-yippee-yi. Suddenly, a dozen longhorn cattle burst out of the prairie not far from the stable. They had come up out of a draw going down to the creek bottoms. Their tails stood up, and their fierce horns tossed, and their feet pounded the ground. A cowboy on a spotted Mustang galloped madly to get in front of them. He waved his big hat and yelled sharp high yells. Hi! Yee! Hi! Cowboy noises. The cattle wheeled, clashing their long horns together. With lifted tails, they galloped, lumbering away. And behind them, the Mustang ran and whirled and ran, herding them together. They all went over a rise of ground and down out of sight. Wow, that's pretty cool. And here are cowboys, Mustangs, and indeed, moo cows, big longhorn. Look, that's serious longhorn cowboys. Yay, cowboys. Laura ran back and forth, waving her sunbonnet and yelling, hi-yi-yi, till Ma told her to stop. It was not ladylike to yell like that. Laura wished she could be a cowboy. I wanted to be a cowboy. Do you want to be a cowboy? Everybody wants to be a cowboy. Late that afternoon, 3 riders came out of the west, driving one lone cow. One of the riders was Pa on Patty. I think it's like Pa and Patty there, I think, with the beard thing. Slowly, they came nearer, and Laura saw that with the cow was a little spotted calf. Indeed. The cow came lunging and plunging. 2 cowboys rode well apart in front of her. 2 ropes around her long horns, you saw the ropes there, were fastened to the cowboys' saddles, leading by the horns. When the cow lunged with her horns toward either cowboy, the other cowboy's pony braced its feet and held her. The cow bawled, and the little calf bleated, thinner bawled. Moo! 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 Ma watched from the window while Mary and Laura stood against the house and stared. It's very exciting. The cowboys held the cow with their ropes while Pa tied her to the stable. Then they said goodbye to him and rode away. That was quick. Ma could not believe that Pa had actually brought home a cow. But it really was their own cow. The calf was too small to travel, Pa said, and the cow would be too thin to sell. So the cowboys had just given them to Pa. They had given him the beef, too. A big chunk was tied to his saddle horn. Oh, goody, so he doesn't have to, kill the cow. It's not like, here's a cow, y'all kill it. No. They gave him a milk cow and a baby cow and a hunk of beef. I mean, this is great. This is fantastic. Okay, he's getting, everything here. This is pretty cool. Pa and Mary and Laura and even baby Carrie laughed for joy. Pa always laughed out loud, and his laugh was like great bells ringing. When Ma was pleased, she smiled a gentle smile that made Laura feel warm all over. But now she was laughing because they had a cow. Okay, it's a whole other lifestyle. They're in the middle of nowhere. Milk? What milk? What? No. Food is a big deal. Vitamin D. Luckily it's sunny, or they'd be having some serious vitamin D shortages. To suddenly have your own entire dairy, a cow right there, that's a big deal. So to live a life where someone says, here's a cow, and a baby cow, a calf, and a hunk of beef, and you go, ah, ha, ha, and you laugh. You laugh because you have a cow. It's kind of intense. I don't know. I'm trying to, what would make me laugh? As if I had just been given a cow. I guess it's like getting a car. A big deal here. Laughing because they had a cow. Give me a bucket, Caroline, said Pa. He was going to milk the cow right away. Yeah. When did these people last have milk? When did they last? He said he only goes to Independence into town, every once a month? Every couple of months? They've been eating meat, chicken and stuff, and they have cornbread. These people have milk? It's like, good heavens. He took the bucket, he pushed back his hat, and he squatted by the cow to milk her. and that cow hunched herself and kicked Pa flat on his back. Pa jumped up. His face was blazing red, and his eyes snapped blue sparks. "Now, by the great horn spoon, I'll milk her," he said. By the great horn spoon. I don't even know what that is. That's great. That's like an 1800s curse thing. By the great horn spoon. I'm going to have to start saying that because it's like hilarious. Here is, oh dear, the cow kicked Pa. Oops, cow. It's been out with cowboys. It's been like a milking cow, it's got to give me, it's going to be different. So it's a wild cow. He's got a wild cow. He got his axe and he sharpened 2 stout slabs of oak. He pushed the cow against the stable and he drove those slabs deep into the ground beside her. When in doubt, he builds something out of oak. The cow bawled and the little calf squalled, "Moo, moo!" Pa tied poles firmly to the posts and stuck their ends into the cracks of the stable to make a fence. Now the cow could not move forward or backward or sidewise, but the little calf could nudge its way between its mother and the stable. So the baby calf felt safe and stopped bawling. It stood on that side of the cow and drank its supper, and Pa put his hand through the fence and milked from the other side. He got a tin cup almost full of milk. "We'll try again in the morning," he said. "The poor thing's as wild as a deer, but we'll gentle her. The dark was coming on. Nighthawks were chasing insects in the dark air. Bullfrogs were croaking in the creek bottoms. A bird called, "Whip, whip, whip-poor-will, hoo, hoo, hoo," said an owl. Far away the wolves howled, "Arroo," and Jack was growling, "Grrr." Whippoorwills, whippoorwills, because they go, "Whip-poor-will." I don't think they're a California or a Southern California, LA thing, so I haven't heard them, but there you go. "The wolves are following the herds," Pa said. "Tomorrow I'll build a strong high yard for the cow that wolves can't get into." They had to build a barn for the horses. They had to build a door for the house. Now they got to protect the cow. It's hard work. Somebody's always trying to eat ya. That's it. So they all went into the house with the beef. Pa and Ma and Mary and Laura all agreed to give the milk to baby Carrie. They watched her drink it. The tin cup hid her face, but Laura could see the gulps of milk going down her throat. Gulp by gulp, she swallowed all that good milk. Then she licked the foam from her lip with her red tongue and laughed. Ha-ha, she laughed because she had a cow. It seemed a long time before the cornbread and the sizzling beefsteaks were done. These people hadn't had years since these people probably had beef. But nothing had ever tasted so good as that tough, juicy beef. And everyone was happy because now there would be milk to drink and perhaps even butter for the cornbread. Now, I like cornbread. I make cornbread myself. I should make some cornbread for one of these readings. But cornbread, need a little crumbly dry. I like my cornbread with butter. I'm really trying to imagine eating a large amount of cornbread with no butter and no milk. That would kind of be rough. They're going to have butter finally. When I make cornbread, maybe this weekend, I will totally have some butter with that. The loving of the cornbread. No, the lowing of the cattle herds was far away again. Woo. And the songs of the cowboys were almost too faint to be heard. Do they have the cowboy song? They don't have the cowboy song. I want to know the cowboy song words, darn it. All those cattle were on the other side of the creek bottoms now in Kansas. Tomorrow, they would slowly go farther on their long way northward to Fort Dodge, where the soldiers were. Indian Camp is chapter 14. Oh, cowboys and Indians. And now, see, there's the cowboys and Indians. There you go. Someone just said Southern-style cornbread has no sugar. It has some sugar, but like this much. Because there are literally 2 recipes for cornbread sometimes on the back of the cornmeal box. And the usual cornbread recipe has just an insane amount of sugar. I remember reading cornbread going, like a cup and a lot of sugar. Like a cup and a half or something. And it comes out super sweet. Or as my southern friends call it, this is Yankee cornbread. When I make cornbread, I did the other recipe, which just has a little vegetable oil. It's much, and it has a couple of tablespoons maybe of sugar, like this much sugar, as opposed to the cup of sugar. It's way less sweeter. And yes, when I make it, even my southern friends say, this is not Yankee cornbread. This is proper cornbread. Honey butter. She said honey butter. Yes, honey butter. Have you made honey butter? Honey butter is awesome. Tissue. My nose is running. Oh no. Honey butter is you melt a little butter and you put a little honey in it. And it's really good. But yes, cornbread shouldn't be too sweet because then it's just dessert. Yeah, somebody says that cornbread is that kind of. Corn is sweet. Hang on, I'm getting a tissue because it's like crazy here. Right there. Oh, so yeah, I don't like my cornbread too sweet. I like the southern style, like Johnny Cakes. Yes, Willie, Johnny Cakes, which is more definitely not sweet. And we had a whole thing in here about, I think it may have been all the way back in Big Woods, about Johnny Cake. Is that Johnny Cake from Johnny Reb in the Civil War, or is it a journey cake? It's like, discuss. Indian camp. Now we've had the Cowboys, now we get the Indians. Day after day was hotter than the day before. It's getting warm there in Kansas. The wind was hot, as if it came out of an oven, Ma said. The grass was turning yellow. The whole world was rippling green and gold under the blazing sky. At noon, the wind died. No bird sang. Everything was so still that Laura could not hear the squirrels chattering in the trees down by the creek. Suddenly, black crows flew overhead, cawing their rough, sharp caws. Should I? I should. Caw-caw! I like crows. There we go. Then everything was still again. Ma said that this was midsummer. Yeah. Pa wondered where the Indians had gone. He said they had left their little camp on the prairie, and one day he asked Laura and Mary if they would like to see the camp. Well, the Indians probably went somewhere where it was cooler, because they were smart. Laura jumped up and down and clapped her hands, but Ma objected. It is so far, Charles, and in this heat. Pa's blue eyes twinkled. This heat doesn't hurt the Indians, and it won't hurt us, he said. Come on, girls. Please, can't Jack come too? Laura begged. Pa had taken his gun, but he looked at Laura, he looked at Jack, and then he looked at Ma, and he put the gun up on its pegs again. All right, Laura, I'll take Jack, Caroline, and leave you the gun. Jack jumped around them, waggling his stump of a tail. As soon as he saw which way they were going, he set off, trotting ahead. Pa came next, and behind him came Mary, and then Laura. Mary kept her sunbonnet on, but Laura let hers dangle down her back. That's why Laura got the freckles and the sun, and Mary had the beautiful white, pure, unsunburned, no sun-damaged skin. As you can see, we folks on the prairie wore our bonnets because we look good. We look good 40 years later because you wear your bonnet. Now they're walking to the Indians. They didn't even take a horse. They just go walk on over. The ground was hot under their bare feet. They're walking barefoot in the summer on the hard packed ground. Burn the soles of their little footies. Oh my Lord. The sunshine pierced through their faded dresses and tingled on their arms and backs. The air was really as hot as the air in an oven, and it smelled faintly like baking bread. Pa said that smell came from all the grass seeds parching in the heat. It was baking bread. They went farther and farther into the vast prairie. Laura felt smaller and smaller. Even Pa did not seem as big as he really was. At last they went down into the little hollow where the Indians had camped. Jack started up a big rabbit. When it bounded out of the grass, Laura jumped. Pa said quickly, "Let him go, Jack. We have meat enough." So Jack sat down and watched the big rabbit go bounding away down the hollow. Okay, that's a seriously obedient dog. That's it. Laura and Mary looked around them. They stayed close to Pa. Low bushes grew on the sides of the hollow, buckbrush with sprays of berries faintly pink, and sumac holding up green cones, but showing here and there a bright red leaf. The goldenrod's plumes were turning gray, and the ox-eyed daisy's yellow petals hung down from the crown centers. Oh, those like black-eyed Susan kind of daisies, yeah. All this was hidden in the secret little hollow. From the house, Laura had seen nothing but grasses, and now, from this hollow, she could not see the house. The prairie seemed to be level, but it was not level. It's all hot and dry, and then you go in the hollow and you like a jungle. All this stuff is great. Laura asked Pa if there were lots of hollows on the prairie like this one. He said there were. Are Indians in them? She almost whispered. He said he didn't know that there might be. She held tight to his hand, and Mary held to his other hand, and they looked at the Indians' camp. There were ashes where the Indian campfires had been. There were holes in the ground where tent poles had been driven. Bones were scattered where Indian dogs had gnawed them. All along the sides of the hollow, Indian ponies had bitten the grass ashore. See, they had ponies, and they had pet doggies, too. Tracks of big moccasins and smaller moccasins were everywhere, and tracks of little bare toes. And over these tracks were tracks of rabbits and tracks of birds and wolves' tracks. Pa read the tracks for Mary and Laura. He showed them tracks of 2 middle-sized moccasins by the edge of the campfire's ashes. An Indian woman had squatted there. She wore a leather skirt with fringes. The tiny marks of the fringe were in the dust. The track of her toes inside the moccasins were deeper than the track of her heels because she had leaned forward to stir something cooking in a pot on the fire. Pa's really smart. He's looking at her feet, and you can see she's leaning in, and her toes have dug into the ground. And he's seen the little tiny moccasins, and then he's seen the little children's bare feet. It's very clever. Then Pa picked up a smoke-blackened forked stick, and he said the pot had hung from a stick laid across the top of 2 upright forked sticks. He showed Mary and Laura the holes where the forked sticks had been driven into the ground. Then he told them to look at the bones around the campfire and tell them what had cooked in that pot. You see, he's even got a little tiny drawing of the little campfire where, just like Ma, she'd hung a little pot on sticks. They looked and they said, "Rabbit!" That was right. The bones were rabbit bones. Suddenly Laura shouted, "Look! Look!" Something bright blue glittered in the dust. She picked it up, and it was a beautiful blue bead. Laura shouted with joy. Then Mary saw a red bead, and Laura saw a green one, and they forgot everything but beads. Pa helped them look. They found white beads and brown beads, and more red and blue beads. All that afternoon they hunted for beads in the dust of the Indian camp. Now and then Pa walked up to the edge of the hollow and looked toward home. Then he came back and helped them hunt for more beads. They looked all over the ground over carefully. Yeah, Pa would stop and go, "I'll just go over here and see if the Indians are coming back and might want to know what we're doing crawling around in their yard looking for beads." But luckily they'd split. So when they couldn't find any more, it was almost sunset. Laura had a handful of beads, and so did Mary. Pa tied them carefully in his handkerchief. Laura's beads in one corner and Mary's in another corner. He put the handkerchief in his pocket, and they started home. And that's the thing, is because the Indians made all the gorgeous stuff out of beads, and stuff would break, and there'd just be some beads in the dirt, and jackpot, they caught some beads. The sun was low behind their backs when they came out of the hollow. Home was small and very far away, and Pa did not have his gun. Pa walked so swiftly, Laura could hardly keep up. Yeah, he's trying to get home in a hurry, because they're wolves! Hello, Indians, everybody. She trotted as fast as she could, but the sun sank faster. Home seemed farther and farther away. The prairie seemed larger, and a wind ran over it, whispering something frightening. All the grasses shook, as if they were scared. Then Pa turned around, and his blue eyes twinkled at Laura. He said, "Getting tired, little half-pint? It's a long way for little legs." He picked her up, big girl that she was, and he settled her safe against his shoulder. He took Mary by the hand, so they all came home together. Supper was cooking on the fire. Ma was setting the table, and baby Carrie played with little pieces of wood on the floor. Pa tossed the handkerchief to Ma. "I'm later than I meant, Caroline," he said, "but look what the girls found." He took the milk bucket and went quickly to bring Pet and Patty from their picket lines and to milk the cow. Ma untied the handkerchief and exclaimed at what she found. The beads were even prettier than they had been in the Indian camp. Laura stirred the beads with her finger and watched them sparkle and shine. "These are mine," she said. And Mary said, "Carrie can have mine." Okay, Mary the wet blanket goody strikes again. Oh dear. Well, Carrie does need to get some, doesn't she, I guess. Ma waited to hear what Laura would say. Laura didn't want to say anything. She wanted to keep those pretty beads. Her chest felt all hot inside, and she wished with all her might that Mary wouldn't always be such a good little girl. But she couldn't let Mary be better than she was. So she said slowly, Carrie can have mine too. That's my unselfish, good little girls, said Ma. Oh, nothing passive-aggressive there, is it? She poured Mary's beads into Mary's hands and Laura's into Laura's hands and said she would give them a thread to string them on. The beads would make a pretty necklace for Carrie to wear around her neck. You know, Carrie's what? 3, 4. She'll get bored. You'll have those beads back by the end of the week. Kid won't even notice, but you know. Mary and Laura sat side by side on their bed, and they strung those pretty beads on the thread that Ma gave them. Each wet her end of the thread in her mouth and twisted it tightly. Then Mary put her end of the thread through the small hole in each of the beads, and Laura put her end through her beads one by one. Do you thread a needle like that? Because I do that. I get the needle, I get the thread. You gotta get it. Yeah, right. And look, there they are. There they are, stringing beads. I like. You ever string beads? I have done that. I was a kid. You ever make a bead necklace? It's very fun. Very fun. Still fun. They didn't say anything. Perhaps Mary felt sweet and good inside, but Laura didn't. When she looked at Mary, she wanted to slap her. Really, it says that. So she dared not look at Mary again. Yes, Laura. See, that's the thing. Laura's just out with it. Everybody on the prairie is very good, and then Mary's super good. Laura's very real. Laura's like, you know, I know Carrie's a baby and we should give her the beads, but I want the beads, and I really just kind of want to slap Mary across the face because she's too good, and it makes me mad. So Laura's just like openly jealous. The beads made a beautiful string. Carrie clapped her hands and laughed when she saw it. Then Ma tied it around Carrie's little neck, and it glittered there. Laura felt a little bit better. After all, her beads were not enough beads to make a whole string, and neither were Mary's. But together, they made a whole string of beads for Carrie. When Carrie felt the beads on her neck, she grabbed at them. Uh-oh. She was so little, she did not know any better than to break the string. So Ma untied it, and she put the beads away until Carrie should be old enough to wear them. Now, wait a minute. If she's not old, then you could have, you know what I'm thinking. And often after that, Laura thought of those pretty beads, and she was still naughty enough to want those beads for herself. Now, if Carrie's not old enough to wear the beads without snapping them off, then, I don't know, maybe Laura and Mary could take turns wearing the gorgeous beaded necklace on special occasions, and then let Carrie wear it. They could share. They could share. You don't have to lock up the flippin' beaded necklace. Just everybody wear it. Maybe Ma should wear it. Perfectly good beaded necklace. I don't know. But it had been a wonderful day. She could always think about that long walk across the prairie and about that day they had seen the Indian camp. Woo! That was awesome. That was so exciting. Ooh, it was exciting because they didn't know, were the Indians going to come back? Were wolves going to show up? Were they going to make it home on time? It was kind of terrifying. I'm telling you, that was spooky. Well, that's 2 chapters. And then we have a big long one coming up where everyone gets malaria. Oh, and then there's a fire. Because it's Little House on the Prairie where terrible, terrible things happen all the time. I'm telling you. But yeah, so fever and ague, everybody gets malaria. Chimney catches fire. Everybody almost dies. Again, but don't worry, they live. There's 9 more books. There's how many books? There's 6 more books. There's 6 more books, so they don't die. Just keep it, spoiler, they don't die. There's more books coming. That was so much fun. This is a very big bonnet. I don't know what to do. I'm awaiting another crate of bonnets. Although I have to say they're pretty quick about it. Down there in Minnesota, they do what they can. They gotta get it to make the things. They're pretty quick about it. So I don't know. I could find tomorrow. I could have bonnets or next Wednesday. I don't know. So I await my bonnets, and as soon as I have any, I swear I should. I know this is right. It's weird now. It's all cold and murky here. As soon as I have them, I will indeed put that up that, yay, we have bonnets. And I will, the little shop that you go to online, the little square thing, it'll say that they're in stock. It'll have a number, and you'll go, oh, look, there's bonnets. So I won't hold out on you. But I haven't got any. And I gotta wear something. So I'm working on it. But I have books. There's a couple people ordered some books. I'm gonna sign those, get those out. Yeah, that'll happen. So yeah, this thing, May 9th, it's going to be crazy, this whole thing staged. If you go to, Spin Cycle NYC, Spin Cycle, C-Y-C-L-E, Spin Cycle NYC, and you look at, there I am, and it tells you how to, click on the thing, and you get, $10 you get a ticket, and then on May 9th, Abracadabra, it'll be live, it's not even like, it's live, and, I'll have a fancy backdrop, and I will, it's a whole chunk of what my stand-up show, and in my show, and we're calling Confessions of a Prairie Terror, because I am. In my show, I do a question and answer segment. This has always been one of my favorite things to do on stage. So I'm trying to figure out how to do this, since with the new technology, you're not here to hand me your little cards with questions. So we'll work out a way to do questions, and what I'm thinking of doing is putting up an Ask Alison Anything thing on my Facebook and on the web, so you could start submitting questions now, and then I could answer some of those in the show on May 9th. So you can we can start doing a thing where you submit, here's what I want to know, and ask questions. I'll put up a thing, and then we'll have some questions for May 9th. So get your tickets, because this is crazy. This is a whole, like, live pay-per-view live stream. I've never done this before. This is totally new. And we're going to try it, and it's going to be awesome. And I'll see you tomorrow, and when I read about everyone getting malaria. So, yes, that'll be fun. Is the show suitable for kids, too? Mostly. I'm not doing the one I do late at night in New York City. It's not like the NC-17. No. It'll be the GPG-ish. Not R. It's not, someone said, no, not R, way not R. Like, maybe PG. Maybe. Like, one word. But no, nothing flagrant. It'll be very mild. It'll be mild. It'll be the nice, clean stories. There'll still be, like, some hilarious, insane stuff, but, no, we won't be talking about terrible, nasty, awful things. Sometimes you do a show late at night, bunch of New Yorkers. Those people, New Yorkers. They're wonderful, they're tough, they're crazy, and boy, can they swear. So, it's like that. But this, obviously, I'm live streaming this out to you also. It'll be a bit different than that. So there you go, but it'll be a hoot. So, quick tour, I'm going to turn the camera so you can see stuff. La 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 la. Is there a guitar? Look, it's a guitar. There it is. There's a guitar. Can you see the guitar? We can see the guitar all the way down. La 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 la. There you are. There's the guitar. Guitar of the day. Because, Bob plays guitar, and you still see all my cool stuff. We have things. We just have things. I have snow globes. I have a lot of them. Here's one. What's one of this? Okay. One of the things I always liked about my snow globes, I have a huge collection, I had to cut back, was I like snow globes from places where it doesn't snow. Because, sure, a snow globe from Minnesota, snow. This is from Saint-Tropez in France. Go down the south of France to Saint-Tropez. Like the suntan oil. We have Saint-Tropez suntan oil in America. Saint-Tropez with the bikinis and the French Riviera. And they made a snow globe. So you could go, oh, look, it's a blizzard in Saint-Tropez. Because that does not happen. So there you go. Hey, hi to everybody in France. Bonjour. And you too, stay safe. Did you steal any props? No! I don't have any props from Little House. I know. Isn't that crazy? I didn't know. The prop man, they lock stuff up. They don't let you steal on that show. And we didn't know the show was, ending. So, I have things that fans made for me. I have several lovely paintings of the Oleson's Mercantile. I have a little model, Eric Caron made me. I have cool stuff that people made for me. That's it. That's what I got. So thank you guys. This is fun. I get to talk to you. You get to talk to me. I get to read a book. I wear a bonnet. It's so much fun. We'll do this again tomorrow. Stay safe. Wash your hands. Get some rest. Hang in there. And we'll do it all again tomorrow. Thanks. Bye.